Mastering Cash Flow in Real Estate, a step-by-step guide to profitable investments. Chapter 1: Introduction to Real Estate Cash Flow. Story: When Sarah first dipped her toes into real estate, she bought a property in her hometown. She was excited. She had saved up a small down payment and was looking forward to finally being a landlord. But after a few months, she realized she had overlooked a key element: cash flow. Her monthly mortgage, maintenance, and unexpected repairs were swallowing up her rental income. Sarah was operating at a loss, and her dream of passive income was becoming a financial nightmare. Lesson: Sarah's story is a common one. Many new investors focus on appreciation, the hope that their property will increase in value, while forgetting to consider the monthly cash flow. But cash flow is the lifeblood of any successful real estate investment. It's what ensures your property isn't just a financial burden, but a source of ongoing, reliable income. Action step: before investing, always calculate potential cash flow by subtracting all expenses from your rental income. This means not just the mortgage, but also maintenance, property management fees, vacancy periods, and repairs. Chapter 2: The Basics of Rental Income. Story: John owned a duplex in a growing neighborhood. He had done his homework, calculated his rental income, and felt confident in his investment. However, after a year, John noticed his net income wasn't what he expected. It turned out his vacancy rate was much higher than he had accounted for, and there were months when one unit sat empty. His cash flow projections had been too optimistic. Lesson: John learned the hard way that gross rental income, the amount you charge tenants, is only part of the equation. Vacancy rates, market fluctuations, and even tenant turnover affect cash flow. Understanding your local rental market is crucial for realistic income projections. Action step: when calculating potential rental income, always account for a vacancy rate. A common rule is to assume your property will be vacant for at least 5 to 10% of the year, but this can vary based on your market. Chapter 3: Calculating Cash Flow, the Formula for Success. Story: Emma was an experienced investor, and she always approached new properties with a detailed calculation method. For her, the math was essential. Gross rental income minus operating expenses equals net operating income, NOI. Then, subtract your debt service, mortgage payments, from the NOI to determine cash flow. Emma never skipped these steps, and her investments consistently generated positive cash flow. Lesson: Emma's approach to real estate investing is what sets successful investors apart. Cash flow calculation isn't a guessing game, it's a methodical process. By following a strict formula, you remove the emotion from investing and focus on the numbers. Action step: use this cash flow formula for every property. 1. Gross rental income. Add up monthly rents. 2. Operating expenses. Include maintenance, property management, insurance, taxes, utilities, and vacancy rate. 3. Net operating income, NOI. Gross income minus operating expenses. 4. Cash flow. NOI minus mortgage payments. Chapter 4: The Impact of Financing on Cash Flow. Mike had always been told that using as much leverage as possible, borrowing the maximum amount, was the best way to invest in real estate. But after purchasing his third property with a low down payment and a high interest rate, he started to feel the financial strain. His cash flow was tight, and any minor repair pushed him into the red. Lesson: while leverage can amplify returns, it can also shrink your cash flow if you overextend yourself. High mortgage payments and high interest rates reduce your monthly cash flow, making it harder to build a sustainable real estate portfolio. Action step: before choosing a financing option, run different scenarios. What happens if interest rates rise? What if your property takes longer to rent out than expected? Make sure your cash flow can absorb these scenarios. Chapter 5: Expense Management. Don't let costs eat your cash flow. Story: Lauren bought a rental property, excited about the strong rental market in her area. She quickly filled the unit with tenants, but over the next year, she encountered one issue after another: a leaking roof, an old furnace that stopped working, and constant small repairs. These unexpected expenses ate away at her profits, and by the end of the year, Lauren realized she had barely broken even. Lesson: operating expenses can make or break your cash flow. Proper planning for maintenance, repairs, and management costs is essential for sustaining positive cash flow. Always assume the unexpected will happen and budget accordingly. Action step: create a detailed operating budget for each property. Maintenance repairs: estimate 1 to 2% of the property value annually. Property management: if hiring a manager, allocate around 10% of your rental income. Reserve fund: set aside 3 to 6 months of operating expenses for emergencies. Chapter 6: Maximizing Rent and Increasing Cash Flow. Story: Ethan owned a rental property in a competitive market. Instead of renting his property for the market average, he made small upgrades: a new kitchen countertop, modern appliances, and a fresh coat of paint. These simple changes allowed him to charge 10% more in rent, and his cash flow improved substantially without adding much to his expenses. Lesson: maximizing rental income doesn't always mean investing in costly renovations. Often, simple improvements like fresh paint, upgraded fixtures, or added amenities can command higher rents and attract better tenants. Action step: before making improvements, analyze your market to see what features tenants value. Prioritize cost-effective upgrades that provide the best return on investment. Chapter 7: Tax Strategies to Boost Cash Flow. Story: when Alex first started investing in real estate, he didn't realize how many tax benefits he could take advantage of. After consulting with a CPA, he learned about deductions he wasn't claiming: mortgage interest, depreciation, and even expenses like travel to inspect his properties. By optimizing his tax strategy, Alex was able to increase his cash flow without raising his rents. Lesson: real estate comes with significant tax advantages that can enhance your cash flow. Learning how to leverage depreciation, expense deductions, and tax deferral strategies is key to optimizing your returns. Action step: work with a real estate savvy accountant to ensure you're claiming all available deductions. Consider strategies like a 1031 exchange if you plan to sell one property and buy another. Chapter 8: Scaling Your Portfolio for Greater Cash Flow. Story: Rachel started with a single duplex, but had big ambitions. She meticulously tracked her cash flow and reinvested her profits into new properties. Over time, she developed a system for identifying high cash flow properties, and within 5 years, she owned a small portfolio of rentals that provided her with significant passive income. Lesson: scaling your real estate investments is the path to financial freedom, but it requires disciplined reinvestment and a focus on cash flow from day one. The more properties you own with positive cash flow, the faster you can grow your wealth. Action step: create a growth plan. Use the cash flow from your current properties to fund the purchase of new investments. Focus on maintaining strong cash flow while gradually expanding your portfolio. Chapter 9: Cash Flow Pitfalls and How to Avoid Them. Story: Carlos invested in a property based on a friend's recommendation without doing his own research. He assumed the market would continue to grow, but after 6 months, rental demand in the area declined. His cash flow turned negative, and he found himself scrambling to cover expenses. Lesson: never rely on assumptions or recommendations without verifying the numbers for yourself. Cash flow calculations are precise and should be based on conservative, realistic estimates of rent expenses and market conditions. Action step: always perform your own due diligence. Analyze rental markets, study local trends, and verify income and expense assumptions. Trust the math